So I don't want to belabor it, but first, a little bit of a historical perspective. It's 1975. Radiologists are mostly all men sitting in basements looking at shadows. Even the images you see on the lower left corner of this device, the roloscope or the alternator here, even those cross-sectional images didn't exist yet because we're still a decade away from the invention of the laser camera. Radiologists are reading about 8,000 exams a year. We think we're reading at peak efficiency, even though those 8,000 exams probably meant about 15 to maybe 25,000 images, at the most 50,000 images in a year's time. There are people who hit those types of numbers in a day today. The ensuing decade becomes a renaissance for the field of medical imaging. The advent of first CT, then multi-slice spiral CT, MRI comes into play. Medicare funding begins around 1986. PET later in the decade. Ultrasound between the late 70s and mid 80s goes from kind of B mode ultrasound to real modern ultrasound. Nuclear imaging steps into the modern age. And then in the next decade, we have DEXA, full field digital mammography, breast tomosynthesis. By 1980, there was this common vision that medical imaging was going to be digital, but we didn't have standards through which vendors could intercommunicate. And PACS spent maybe 15 years crossing the chasm between an interesting toy for technophiles and a business tool that everybody had to have. And it's important to realize this history because AI is doing the same thing right now. It's had its 15-year incubation period, and AI seems to be popping now and about to have a major impact on the clinical practice of medicine and in radiology. Recognize that there are now about 700 vendors with regulatory clearance in North America and Europe, and about 80% of those vendors with regulatory clearance for AI applications are in medical imaging.